So this week's data set is looking at the U.S. counties with the highest economic output. The data set that you will receive is by county. I think this one might be by metro area because I see like San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley are together, so that'd be like San Francisco Bay Area. But the idea is still the same. Interestingly, I've lived in 3 of the 10 places on here. I grew up in Philadelphia. I then lived in Atlanta for 15 years, and then the Bay Area for 3 years. So, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I'm 30% of the way through here. Okay, so it looks like we have metro areas, their economic output, and it looks like this is just for 2018, so you can see that on the bottom left of the viz. And we have these like cone-shaped things, which apparently you're supposed to be able to compare the sizes of, but good luck with that. I'd like you to compare the size of, you know, one of those small ones in Dallas with maybe the one up in Portland, Oregon on the upper left. Yeah, good luck with that. So not the best visualization. So what does work about this is it's a map. You know where you probably have heard of most of these cities. They're all just major metropolitan areas, so I would assume you've heard of them. But we also don't have a lot of context, and it's only data for 1 year. So what has happened over the years? That'd be a question that I might ask. And also, you know, maybe the surrounding counties, how are those doing as well? You know, there's lots of questions you could ask of this data. Okay, so it's over to you now. So we're going to set a timer for 60 minutes. Again, you can get the data, publish it up to your Tableau Public and Twitter profile. And if you want it to be reviewed on this live stream later on after the hour, make sure you submit it at makeovermonday.co.uk/submit. Then there's a little checkbox on there that says that, you know, do you want it reviewed or something like that on this session. So check that box if you would like them to review it for you.
And only use that checkbox if it's a viz about this week's data set, because we had 5 people use it, but none of their vizzes were about this week's data set, so we had to ignore it.
Yep. Okay, and a single chart's fine. Don't worry about if you don't finish. There is no requirement for it to actually be a dashboard. It can just be a chart. That's perfectly fine. Yep, and remember, it's not a competition. We're all in this just to continue to improve every single week. All right, so I think that's it. I will set a timer somehow, but I'm also going to, maybe I'll just go ahead and set a timer. So 60-minute timer.
Make it till 6:30 our time.
Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the timer. There we go. So the timer is now running. So you've got till about 6:30 p.m. our time. And okay, so while you guys are working on it, if you want to, you could just watch my screen as well, or do either or neither. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and do a little Watch Me Viz session. And yeah, if you want to see how I approach this data set, just hang tight here. And we will be back in about an hour to review any visualizations that you submit. Again, remember that when you do the submission, check the box at the bottom, but only check it if you're submitting for this week. Please don't check the box if it's for any other week.
And we welcome everyone who is just watching to stay on the chat with us, with Charlie and me, because we're already done, so we're going to just chat. And,
okay.
Or to just watch, or to build your viz, of course. And if you forget to post in the checkbox, then, you know, just maybe on Twitter, mark it somehow or something so we can find it.
Yep. Okay. So not sure what link this, I can't read his name, but I'm not sure what link he's looking for. But if you just go to makeovermonday.co.uk/data, you'll find what you're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with my visualization. You're welcome to leave commentary on the YouTube chat. And Eva and Charlie, you're going to be giving commentary as well on there because I was quite mean to them earlier.
You were very mean.
Okay, so Charlie, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share for now and drop you off. Okay, so there's Charlie and Eva. All right, so I'm going to minimize you guys. and go ahead and get started. So let's see here. Oops. So I'm going to go out to the data.world page. And everything is slow on my computer now because of running OBS. It slows my whole machine down for some reason. Usually data.world is like super fast, so something's going on in the background. Okay, so we're looking at the US counties with the highest economic output. I already talked about the visualization, so I'm going to skip that part, and I'm going to go directly, you see the source article here, so I'm going to go to that. And I'm also going to bring up the data source just so I can double check and make sure that I understand what it's telling me as well. All right, so this is the map of the US cities. The idea is the same though. We're going to be looking at counties, but this is, and these actually aren't even cities, so the title's wrong because San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley are actually 3 cities. So you shouldn't be combining them into one and call it a city. All right, US is the world's largest economy. A few select cities are responsible for a large share of the country's total economic output. Okay, the unique 3D map puts the city corridors. Okay, so this particular fact, so I'm just going to go ahead and start writing down some things here. So this particular fact, a few selected cities, I'm going to maybe look at a Pareto chart for that, or a potato chart. If you make it brown and make it look like a potato. Okay, so it just lists the 10 areas, the state codes. Okay, coming in fourth is San Francisco. All right, so these paragraphs are really just repeating what's in the text. Geographers also think of urban life in broader terms as well, given the proximity to cities in the Northeast. Some of these areas are grouped into a single mega region. So maybe I want to look at regional level. Okay. Telling all urban and rural areas, every state economy can be compared in the size of the... Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So this is saying U.S. states renamed for countries with similar GDP. So California's GDP is about the same as the UK. That's take that, Charlie. South Korea is the size of New York. What are some other, any other interesting ones on here? So Florida is the size of Mexico. That's pretty interesting. Texas competes with Canada. Okay, so there's not really much context in this. I mean, it looks like the article is basically just regurgitating what's in the table. Okay, oops. Looks like everything's zoomed in. So I'm going to go over to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, I think it is. Is that right, Charlie? I think. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this particular map here, so let's see what this is here. All right, so here, percent change in real GDP by county 2018. Okay, so this might be one way to look at it. So change in GDP. I'm assuming this is going to be versus prior year, but we don't know because they don't tell us. All right. Anything else on here? Gross domestic product estimates the value can be used. Okay. All right, so not much more on there. Okay, so let's just go ahead and connect to the data. I've gone ahead and downloaded it already. Normally you would go over to data.world and just click the little download button here, and Charlie made it available both in Hyper and CSV. Okay, so I've got that. Looks like I've got the year. Let me see, I'm going to click on describe and load. Okay, so I've got 18 years worth of data. This is the FIPS code for each county, and it looks like each county is grouped into, obviously it's part of a state, and then the states are part of a subregion, which are part of a region. Okay, now you have to be careful with the counties because county names are repeated across states. So for example, Oxford County, I'm sure, is in more than one state. So you have to be careful with that so that you're not just looking at counties, because then you might be aggregating the data together when you don't need to. And then we have this like GDP chained dollars. So what does that mean? Chained GDP dollars. Okay, I want to make sure I understand what that means. Inflation adjusted measure. Okay. Oh, hang on a second. Let me go back here. Okay, so chained dollars is a method for adjusting real dollar amounts for inflation over time to allow. Okay, so it's just a way. It's just kind of like inflation adjusted numbers to make them comparable. Okay, that's fine. So basically that means that 2001 would probably be adjusted up to $2018 or whatever the base is in order to make those years comparable. All right, so I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply look at the data over time, and we can see that we've gone from 13 trillion up to 18 trillion. Now this is really, really hard for me to look at. So I'm going to, okay, interesting. It does it as trillion on the axis, but I don't believe I can format by trillions. So if I go to number custom, I'm going to put a dollar sign before, and if I put it in billions, I can see I've got like 18,000 billions, but I wonder if I go into custom, if I can make it a T. I've never tried this before, so let's see what happens here. Okay, all that did was put a T at the end. So maybe I need to, I wonder if I did 4 commas instead. Oh, look at that. Look at that, Charlie, take that. So number custom. Okay, so I'm going to do it to 1 decimal, and then I'm going to set it to billions. I'm going to do that again, make sure I understand what it's doing. So right now this is 1824.2 billion. Go to custom. 0. Okay, so I just need to put in 1 more comma. I think that worked. 18.2, and then make it a T, and make it a T. Ah, there we go.
It seems to be really laggy. I don't know if you can click on something there to...
Yeah, there's a bit of a lag here. I don't really think there's much I can do. I think it's just because we're using up all the bandwidth in the house. It just says it's maintained. It should catch up. Yeah, I can see it lagging on the screen now. So let's see. You could try to view it in a different browser and see how it's like. Log in like no, go into like Edge or something like that. Yeah. And then just don't sign in. Okay, sorry about the bandwidth. I'm not quite sure what I can do about that, but it looks like it's okay. The screen's frozen. Okay, let me know if it catches up, please. All right, I think I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can hear you talk.
Okay.
Oh, it just caught up.
Okay, great. So for those of you that didn't see it, let me do that again. So let me format, and I'm going to, by the way, if a number is bold here, I think I do, oh, there's a zoom button. Well, okay, so if you see here on Tableau, you'll see that we've got a number in bold. I'm curious to see if it actually zooms in on the screen. But if you click on that or right click on it, you can clear it, and that'll reset the reset it back to the default. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to make this in trillions, and Tableau actually doesn't give us a custom number format of trillions. So I'm going to set the decimal places to 1. I'm going to prefix, and you'll see my display units. I don't have trillions as an option, so I'm just going to choose the B. And really what I want to do is I want to divide this by 1,000 to get it to be in trillions. So I'm going to go to the custom option, and hopefully it zooms in. I don't know if it zoomed in when I did that a minute ago. So, okay, so not quite sure why this is lagging so much. Okay, now it's not letting me do it anyway. So if you can probably look really closely, you'll see commas. So I'm just going to add in commas. So now there's 4 commas, and I'm going to change the B to a T. And there we go. So now I've got trillions. All right, learn something new every day. And maybe I could look at it by region, and that's not, just kind of looks like candy. Subregion, maybe I'll do that as well. All right, so that's not particularly useful either. All right, maybe state. This is really going to be a mess. Let me put it on detail instead, and I'm going to show the highlighter. And I imagine what we're going to see here is California is probably at the top, and then I'm going to guess Texas is probably second, and maybe New York third. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, so one thing that might be neat to look at then is if I look at each state, and if I want these to be spark lines, I'm going to, first off, I'm just going to get rid of the labels for now. And if I want these to be spark lines, the first thing I'm going to do is going to edit the axis. I'm going to edit the axis. And I'm going to uncheck the include 0 and make them independent. That treats, you see it kind of fills up the space. And I'm going to just grab the right hand side and shrink it down and make them nice and small. Okay, so this is a nice little spark line here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll label the min and the max for each one. Okay, that looks terrible. So I'm going to undo that. But I want there to be a little line on the end. So I'm going to edit my axis. I'm sorry, I want to put the label on the end of the line. So I just need to give it a bit more breathing room on the right-hand side. So maybe I'll make it like 2022 and see if that works. So now if I go to label.
Is it your turn tomorrow for Tableau Tip Tuesday as a tip?
I could.
Because people asked for it in the chat, but I think that's just a bit, didn't get lost.
Okay, so I'm going to label the maximum value. So if I do the line ends, show mark labels, so I got the beginning and the end. I only want to label the end, but I'd like to have the tiny little dot. You see when you hover over, you get that little dot. I find those little dots kind of sexy. So I'm going to change my mark label to min-max. And you'll see now it labels the minimum maximum value, but I want it to label the end of the line. So I'm going to go to the field section, and I want it to give me the maximum year. Now it changed the label to the year. So all I have to do is grab my chained GDP and copy it onto the label shelf. And there we go. So now we have our trillions. And I'm going to go ahead and uncheck show header. And now I would probably go ahead and sort these then by state. So I want to sort the field by state. Okay, now we get California at the top and then Texas, etc. So I don't think that looks too bad. So maybe I'm just gonna play around with the formatting a bit and make them even a bit smaller maybe.
The screen is still paused.
Okay, and then okay. All right, so let's see if that's any better now. Okay, hopefully that cleans it up. I changed a couple settings in the streaming service. All right, so I've got my spark lines here. I don't know if I'm going to keep those or not, so I'm just going to call those spark lines. And one of the other things that I made note of was that I wanted to look at maybe a Pareto chart. A few select cities. All right, so I'm going to create a new sheet. I'm going to create a combined field for state and county. I guess I could do that. I could just do county FIPS probably, because that's going to be a unique number, and then I could, yeah, I'll do that. So I'm going to put county FIPS on here. Don't worry about if the names don't make sense. And I'm going to put the change. So this is going to be for all years, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit sort descending. And now what I need to do is I need to add a table calculation, or no, I need to flip the chart. And I want to add a table calculation. So my Pareto calculation is first going to calculate a running total. And I'm going to choose specific dimensions and tell it to compute by FIPS. And then I'm going to add a secondary calculation, which is my percent of total by FIPS. Okay, so now we can see if I make this fit the entire view, it looks kind of terrible because these are all bars. Maybe I'll change it to a line, and we can see some things here. But what we want to do is we want to be able to convert this x-axis to a number as well. So I'm going to duplicate the county FIPS down to the detail shelf, and I'm going to sort that again. It's really weird that the sort doesn't get maintained. But so I want to sort by field, change GDP descending. Okay, so now I want to make this a measure and count distinct. And then I want to make it a running total by FIPS, and then a secondary calculation by FIPS. Okay, so now we can see, and I'm just going to put the county onto the tooltip because that'll make it an attribute, so I don't have to worry about it with my table calc. And I'm going to put the state on the tooltip as well. All right, so now we can see that if I go near 80%, we can see that 14% of the counties make up 80% of the GDP. Wow. So I'm going to drag both of these calculations down to the measures area to save them. So this is my Pareto GDP. And then I'm going to drag the counties down. I'm going to call this one, where'd that go? Rename Pareto counties. Count of counties. Something like that. All right, so what I could do now is I could put some reference lines on here. So I'm going to, first I'll just make them averages for now. And then I'm going to edit this one. And I want this to be a constant at 20%, so 0.2. I'll go ahead and leave the label on for now. I'm going to make it a dotted line and maybe make it darker. Okay, so something like that. You can see I've left my 20% label down there. And then I'm going to edit my 80% line, make this a constant, 0.8, and leave the label on, set the tooltip to none, and then make it the same formatting. Okay, so we get something like that. So we can see that for us, actually, we want it to be, we see that we actually have this, so we are, what this means is the US economy is more dependent on a fewer number of counties for the economy. I don't know if that makes sense how I described that, but 13% of the counties make up 80% of the GDP. So that'd be similar to saying 13% of the products at your company make up 80% of your revenue. So if any of those products goes bad, then you're at a higher risk. So yeah, not that the counties are going to go away, but just something to think about. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or not, but it's there. Maybe I'll make it an area chart, and then I'm going to duplicate this and make this one a line, and then dual axis and synchronize. Okay, so I'm doing this because I want to see, I like seeing kind of the dark line there, so maybe I'm going to reduce maybe I'll make that gray. I don't know. You see I do a lot of fiddling with it. Maybe reduce the opacity. All the formatting stuff that takes ages. Okay, I could even maybe make the line a bit fatter to make it stand out a bit more. Yeah, something like that. So there's our Pareto chart. And I want to hide that axis. We'll come back to that later. Okay, so one of the other things is regional level and then change in GDP. Okay, so that map looked at the change from the prior year. So what I want to do is I want to get the, first off, I want to get the latest year. I'm going to do this as a calculation in case, let's say for some reason in the future I update this data set and I get data for 2020. Right now it goes through 2018, but if it gets updated, I want my charts to update automatically. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a level of detail expression that starts with a mustachio, and I'm just going to do max year. And I didn't fix it on anything, so that means just give me like the overall maximum year. So, and Tableau is going to put that as a measure because it thinks it's something it should count. So I'm going to drag that up. And if I put that onto text, you'll see it just gives me 2018. So that's great. So now what I want to do is I want to say latest year GDP. So I'm going to say if year equals my latest year, then GDP, end. Okay, and so now if I see my latest year, I see I've got 18 million. I'll show you how this works actually. So if I put year up on columns and I make it discrete, you see I only have data for 2018 because that's the way that I wrote that latest year calculation. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my latest year and see what, so I'm going to look at prior year. And so I want to say max year minus 1. And then I'm going to duplicate that field and call this my prior year GDP. And then I'm just going to replace latest year with prior year. And if I put that field, where'd it go, onto my, you'll see I now get both years in there. If I take measure names off, it'll make a bit more sense. Now I've got those 2 years, and I can look at the year over year. So let's see, latest, I'll just call it year, yeah, latest versus prior year. Or I'll call it LY, so latest year. I don't know if I'll remember what that is later, but I want to look at latest year minus the prior year. And I want to make this a percentage. So I'm going to wrap those in parentheses or brackets and divide that by the sum of the prior year. And let's change the number format for that to a percentage to 1 decimal. And if I put that on color, I should be able to see what it's doing. So I'm getting null. That's fantastic. Let's see. Let me try something here. So put that on text. Okay, so it's 2.9% overall. So, okay, so now if I look at, let's see, if I'm just going to look at it at the, for now, at the region level, and so let's see if it works. So let's put year up on the columns and make it discrete. I'm going to put my GDP on the table, and then I'm going to put my last year versus prior year on the table as well. And I only get a value, I'm not getting a value at the end because year is in the view, so that doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, so if I take year off the view, it will work. Okay, so let's do latest year GDP, prior year GDP, and then let's just get rid of that and get rid of year. Okay, so that looks like it's probably correct. So 3.7 divided by 3.5 minus 3.5 divided by 3.5, that's 5.7%, but I'm looking at a much larger numbers. So let's say 3727 and 3572. So 0.04. Yeah, so that looks right. Okay, so my calculation looks correct. So that's good to know. And let's just go ahead and get rid of those two. So now I'm just looking at which regions changed the most, but the original, or the other one that I looked at was this map. So I'm going to create that same map. So I want to do counting on detail. Come on. Okay, and I've got it's showing me UK counties right now because my these just happen to be names that match the UK. So I put state onto detail. And I've got this unknown errors because my default location is set up to the UK. So I just need to change my state to USA. Come on. And hit OK. And now I should get all of those. I'm going to, for now, I'm just going to get rid of Alaska and Hawaii. Sorry, Alaska and Hawaii. And to exclude those. Okay, and then I'm going to change my mark type to a map. And if I look at my last year versus prior year, I should get something similar to that. Yep, but they're using all blues. I wouldn't do that because I have a discrete color palette. So yeah, so it goes from minus 44 to 0.04. Okay. And oh look, our scales are exactly the same, so we must have done something right there. Right. Oh, mouse batteries are low. Okay, but this doesn't look particularly good, so maybe if I make the borders like very light colored, oh, that's really bad. And turn off the halos. I still don't particularly, like this particular view because there's no real concentrations of anything. So let me increase the color. I mean, you can see like some darker stuff in the middle, which means that those are the extremes, but there's no like regional concentrations or anything like that. So I don't find that particularly useful. What if we just look at latest year, and if we look at, let's look at it by state and by county. Let me just, and then I'm going to create a set here. Exclude Alaska and Hawaii. This will be a bit quicker when I put it into the view. So when I create that set, I can just drag it onto the filters and they're gone. Okay, so maybe I'll leave it as dots for now, and I want to look at just maybe just the chained GDP. And we're probably going to get, so let me leave it as circles. Yeah, and we just basically get a few points that stand out. Okay, so that's not very useful either. Okay. So let me look back. I think I remember a Workout Wednesday that might be useful. So let me go to Workout Wednesday from 2019. Come on. Okay. I like using these. This is why. So last week I did something like this tile map, so I won't do that again this week because, I mean, I could, but that feels like it'd be a bit of cheating. We could put the states in small multiples. Let's see. Okay, so here's my trellis calculations. So if I go back here, and if I duplicate my spark line, okay, so I'm going to create a calculated field. I'm going to call this one columns. Okay, so I'm just going to try to create like a small multiples view. All right, I'm going to make both of these discrete. I'm going to put column in the columns, row in the rows, and move state to detail, and compute each of these using state. Okay, and then let me, I'm going to clear manual sizing, and I'll make it fit the entire view. Oh, so that looks pretty cool. Now, if I undo the axis, you can see some of these are very, very straight. but wonder if I make it the chain, instead of making it since, or just making it the value, I could make this, what if I make this a change since the first year? So percent difference from, so I want to do pane across, yep. So for each state relative to the first. Okay, so now we can see the growth or decline of each of those. So we got, so everything's starting at 0 now. So we can see North Dakota had some kind of boom here, and then a bust, and then through like that. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Now this number is wrong, so I'm going to need to copy this onto here. Why is that? So default properties. Let's say format, and I just want to clear that. Now to give me the percentage change. This should be the same. So format. Okay, we're good to go. Now I can't sort by table calc, unfortunately, or otherwise I would. That would be nice. Okay, so this is just showing me the change since then. Okay, I don't mind that so much. Now what I would probably want to do here, I don't know, maybe I'll leave that one for now. If I make it an area chart, and then let me duplicate, so something similar to what I did a minute ago. Make this a line, and then dual axis, and synchronize. And on the area chart, I don't have a label, so I'm just going to move that to, I can just get rid of it actually. Okay, so we got something like that, and hide the header. So we got a bit of a better view. Now the only issue now is I don't have a mark for the state. So I think what I'll probably do is let's see. I can probably just put the state onto the label as well, and I get, that's probably good enough. Yeah, for now. The only issue is they don't all line up nice and neat, which I don't like. But okay, so I'm going to undo that. So all right, let's just leave it for now. So not sure I love this one, but it's not terrible before. Okay, any comments right now? Let's see. Is it good for those in brackets mustachios? Yeah. Okay. Charlie's responding to questions. Right. So what I could do is maybe I want to look at the. If I look at, I think I already did this last year versus prior year. So what I could do is I could get the first year. So let me duplicate this, and I'm going to call this my first year. And I'm just going to say min of year. And then I could do duplicate, and I'm going to say first year GDP. Oh, I've only got a few minutes left. If that equals first year, then that. And then if I duplicate this one, so this is going to be last year versus first year. And the only thing you need to change here is put first year GDP. Okay, and I'm going to put that on color instead. Okay, and there's a few that, wow, some of these had massive growth, all in Texas. They must be related to oil. North Dakota, that's got to be oil as well. I wonder if I'm just going to, just for curiosity, I'm going to show the filter here. And I'm only going to look at things that have positive growth. And then maybe only look those that have grown by more than 100%. Oops. Let's see, undo. So it should be 0.1, not 100%. Yeah, so these are all those that grew by more than 100% in the last, wow. That's really interesting. Okay. Right, so I was looking at some views that I thought there was one in particular that's popping out in my head. Where is it here? Okay, it must be from 2020 then. Let's see. I could look at maybe something like that. If I looked at maybe each region, and then maybe I put each state and county on detail, and I look at my latest year GDP, make them circles, and then I'm going to just do random, everybody's favorite hidden function, and make that an average. Okay, so now if I squeeze it out a bit, this will show me the outliers really nicely. So this is LA. Yep. But now I could even swap this out, so I could do last year versus prior year. And now I can see, that's interesting. So let me put that on color. So we can see kind of a clear distinction here. So maybe I put a constant line across the, let's see, latest year at 0. Come on, stupid line. God, it's so difficult to select these. Here we go. Format. Okay, I'm just trying to see how many counties are above and below. That's pretty interesting. So I'm seeing lots that are above and below. So maybe I don't mind that one too much. I could even, if it makes more sense, so I'm going to get rid of the borders. I could even just make it 2 colors. So if I edit the colors for this, I could go to maybe, I don't know, red and blue, and just make it 2 colors. And I just want to make sure the center is 0. Then we can see that a bit better, maybe reduce the opacity a bit. So now we can see kind of the clusters. So entire view, there we go. Well, that's pretty neat. Maybe I will then sort the regions, because I'm not quite sure why they're in this order. Oh, they're in alphabetical order. Duh. So let's do field descending by last year versus prior year. That's probably going to be confusing. So when I just do it by the latest year GDP. Okay, there we go. Right. So Jackson, West Virginia. Huh. All right. So this is a maybe. So this is my what do I want to call this one? My jitter. Let's wrote jitter plot. So I'm going to color that one in red. Okay. So there was another one though. So we did this one. We did something like this. So I don't need that. There's also, so we could do that. But there's another one I was looking for. Where the heck? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong folder. Workout Wednesday is what I wanted. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it in the first place. Yeah, so I'm looking in the wrong place. I looked at the wrong folder, so Workout Wednesday 2019. No, this is where I was. Maybe it was 2018 then. Workout Wednesday 2018. All right, let me just look. I'm just going to scan through everything that this is a good reason to also save everything that I create as a picture in Google Photos. So this is like, I'm sure this is like watching paint dry as I do this. I just want to find it so I make sure I create what I was thinking of. Oh, this is going to annoy the hell out of me. I know I could find it on my Tableau public profile, but I think it took a while for me to find it last time. Well, I think, yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. It's going to take me too long. Okay, let me just build it. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a parameter. I'm going to call it state parameter. Just make it a string, and maybe I'll just make it Florida for now. Let me just show that. And I'm going to call this my state filter, state match. So state equals state parameter. Okay, so let's make this a map and put state in the view. And I'm just going to do state match here and true. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to format my, oh, no, not format. I want to go to my map layers and wash it out. So then I just have the state there. And I'm going to set the opacity to none and maybe give it like sorry, wrong thing. Maybe the border here. Okay, something like that. And then I'm going to duplicate my latitude. And on this one, I'm going to put county. So county on detail. And I want these to be circles and to be maybe my latest year GDP. And let me just, now I'm going to dual axis these. And I should see my circles. Okay, great. If I make them circles instead, and then I need to turn my opacity on, there we go, and turn my border off. And why is there a halo? God, this drives me nuts. Maybe I'll make them a bit bigger, something like that. Do you guys see that little halo on there? It looks terrible. So let me format this and get rid of the row and column dividers. All right, so that's going to give me, so that'll give me the counties for a particular state. So state selected. And what I want to do now is I want to create that small multiples view again. And I'm going to put, this time I'm going to make it a map, but I'm going to just put state on the detail shelf. And you see I get each state shape, which is pretty cool. So I want to compute using state. And I'm going to copy, no, that's fine, just leave it like that for now. Make it fit entire view. And I want to sort the states by the latest year GDP. Okay, and then I'm going to, for each of these states, so I want to add so I'm going to do average of let's see, how do I want to do this? Let me just do average of 1. Okay. So I'm gonna, I'll show you in a second why I'm doing this. So I'm going to try to center these now. So 0.5 and 1.5. Anybody that's done a workout Wednesday, like this particular workout Wednesday, you might recognize it when we're done. And then on this one, I'm going to do average of 1.5. Okay. So now on this one, I want this to just be text. I want the state to be on text. And I want their latest year GDP on text. Okay, and let me default properties number format. And I'm going to do my little trick again here with the dollar signs, billions. I know I'm going fast now, but I've only got a few minutes left. So, and then I need to default properties number format, go into custom, add a comma, make it a T, and make it a T. Okay, and then I'm going to put latest year versus prior year on text as well. Right, and then let me dual axis and synchronize. Oh, I don't need to, yeah, so I need to synchronize from over here. And then I'm going to go to my all marks card and get rid of measure names. Okay, so copy formatting, paste formatting. So that gets rid of the grid lines, format. I know I'm going quick, but that's okay. All right, so in this one on my labels, I want to have the state, and I'm going to put the rank next to that, but I need to create the rank first. And then I'm going to have that versus prior year. Okay. Now, why is my state not showing up? I must need to give it, maybe this needs to be 1.75 perhaps. Okay, that didn't help. So let me just try something. If I put this in here, okay. Huh. Well, that's annoying. So state is in the view. I'm going to try something real quick just to put, if I put state here, do I get the state? Okay, so it must have something to do with the spacing then. All right. I know what it is. It's because I set the axis to go from 1 to 1.5. So if I make this 1.75, there we go. And let me just go ahead and include, actually I probably don't need any of my tooltips, but that's okay. So show header. Right, so now what I've done is I have each state, I have the latest year and the prior year. And so my state, I want to do the same thing here. So I want to set the border to the map, and I'm going to reduce the opacity to 0. And I'll come back and size them later. Maybe I'll just increase them a bit for now, because I'll have to go back and forth between here and the dashboard. So I want to latest year rank. So I want to do rank of the sum of the latest year GDP. And I'm going to put that onto the text shelf. Okay, and then latest year rank, default properties, number format. I'm going to make it a number, and I'm going to put a number sign at the beginning. Okay, so now if I go here, okay, maybe I'll make this like a gray, make this maybe bigger and bold, and then so okay, something like that. So now California is number 1, etc. Okay, so now what I want to be able to do is I'm going to create a dashboard here. So floating, oops, and let's set this to, okay, so it's going to fill up the space. And then I want to put, oops, make that tiled, state selected, and then my sheet 10. And I need to go to layouts, get rid of this tiled guy. That gets rid of all the crap in the background. Okay, so my state selected, so I need to change the opacity on that, so I can kind of see through them a bit more. Maybe I'll change the color on these and maybe make them like a bluish color. So this one's going to show the counties, and then this one's going to show the states. And what I want to do is I want to be able to click on a state, and it swaps it over to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dashboard action, and it's going to change a parameter. I'm going to call it update state parameter, it's going to go from from sheet 10. On select, it's going to update my state parameter with the field state. And what I should see now is when I click on New York, that swaps out to New York, Florida, etc. Okay, that works great. Now I need to create a new calculated field. And this is Charlie. I'm going to put that on the all marks card. And the reason I'm putting that on here is because when I click on a state, you see how it highlights the state right now. I don't want it to do that. So dashboard actions, and I'm going to make it a filter action. So dummy filter. And let's see, sheet 10 is going to go to sheet 10, show all, select, run on single select. And I'm going to go from the dummy to something that's not in the view. So let's say like subregion. And what you should see now is when I click on Montana, it just updates that to Montana. Okay, great. So what I want to do on here then is in my title, I'm going to have, let's see. Actually, what I can do here is on the map, I could put that on label, and I'm going to put my latest year GDP on the label. So that's going to give me the GDP for the entire state. So let's go here. Oh, come on. Let's make that maybe 22, and let's make this maybe 12, just see what it looks like. Okay, so that's in the middle. Maybe I'm probably going to need to go over and check it on the other page first. So let's go here, and then you see now it's not showing. So why is that? Well, that's quite annoying. So allow overlap maybe. Well, that's kind of sucky. All right, what the hell? That is very annoying. Yeah, I don't want to do that because that's going to show them for all the circles as well. So label, maybe if I do top, I don't know. That's really stupid. So let me just make it bigger. There we go. Okay, so it's just not big enough. So I need to probably, that's fine. So let me go here. So I think what might be useful then is within each of these states, I'm just going to like duplicate this Pareto chart. And actually, no, I don't want to do that one. I'm going to do the one that I did versus 2000 and where was the one I did that was, okay, this is the one that's versus 2008. So let me duplicate that. And let me get rid of the columns, get rid of the rows. I know it's a mess, but that's okay. I'm going to now stick a horizontal in here. And I'm going to put this sheet into here. And on this new sheet, I'm going to go ahead, remove from dashboard. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want this to also have my, where is it here? State match. Nope, wrong sheet. So this is my Spark 4 dash. Do you want to ask them if they want me to keep going?
Well, you don't
time
have
to
that
stop.
much time.
Okay.
But also we want to present other people's vizzes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. So let me just wrap this up then. Oh shoot. So this needs to have my state match. True. Okay. So this should now just be one state. I'm going to hide the header. Let's see what that looks like now in the dashboard. So if I make this nice and small, and then maybe I'll do one more chart. That is my top 10 counties. So let's see, chain GDP, no, latest year GDP, sort, and then I want that filter on here as well. So state match, true. Okay, and then I want to stick that one. I need a vertical container here. Put that inside there. And then where's my bars? Okay, but I want this to just be the top 10. So filter, use all top 10 by latest year GDP. Add that to context. And then fit entire view. Okay, so why don't I stop there, and we can go ahead and I'll finish this up. But the idea here would be I click on Texas, these update to Texas. I click on New York, these update to New York, etc. So I'm very close to done. I just need to do some cleanup on the charts and resize it and things like that. But yeah, and I'll probably maybe add some big numbers, or actually on this map I'll probably do the versus prior year or something like that. So I'm going to stop there because we need to look at the vizzes that have been submitted.